Hello, I'm Louisa. Welcome to my weekly intuitive astrology show where I help people get clearer about their lives and know the next best step to focus on. If you've ever wondered why certain patterns seem to hold you back, then this show is for you. Join me today as I explore the planets of 4 individuals with burning questions and share planetary insights for all. Hello and welcome. How are you doing this week? So this is Ask Louisa, the show where I aim to answer 3, possibly even 4 questions from people in the audience. Now, I've closed the lines of applications for the show, so I've got all of my potential readings in this hat, and I will be pulling out some names very shortly. But before we go any further, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on right now. We've got the new moon today and the start of the Chinese New Year. So this is a time of little seeds, like new seeds. And it's absolutely in the sign of Aquarius, which has everything to do with astrology, everything to do with a bigger picture, a community idea, and absolutely the sort of communication within our sphere as brothers and sisters. So I see this as a really, really great date for us to do this. I can see we've got people in the chat already. We've got Jodie Lee saying, hi, Louisa, Penny, everyone. I think Penny's already being put on the screen. I am actually going to have a little bit of help tonight from my producer husband who sat just behind me in the kitchen. So forgive me if I get my speeds wrong, but I think Mother Mulberry is in the kitchen as well. That's great. She's not in the kitchen. My husband's in the kitchen. But Mother Mulberry from South Africa is saying hi, Penny. So yeah, we've got people watching. Please do let us know where you're watching from and who you are and maybe what you want to hear a little bit of. I do think Jodie's saying hello to Carl. That's so sweet. Thank you so much, Jodie. You're joining us from London. So yeah, it's cool. Now, yeah, I know. I think Carl, you're on a time delay. You're not actually quite in sync with me at the moment, so that's kind of interesting. Now, this show, I think, if you've ever been to a séance or a spiritualist meeting or gone to see someone like, if you've gone to see Esther Hicks, for instance, where there's somebody at the front of the stage doing readings for people. I often think that even if you don't get picked, there'll be something of value tonight. The way I do these readings, it is based on astrology for sure, and I'm a Western tropical astrologer. Though, if you do request me to look at things in a different way, I'll do my best to accommodate your requests. But I also am channeling, I am an intuitive astrologer. I don't really consider myself to be that traditional. I might put asteroids in according to what you're requesting. And I always tune in, so like before I started this show, for instance, I did sort of tune in to my guides. I took a moment to center myself. And yeah, hopefully everything that needs to be revealed tonight will be revealed. So let's see where we're going. The first person I'm about to pull out the hat. We got some lovely comments coming up. First person I'm going to be looking at today then is Cheryl from Portsmouth, Cosham, Portsmouth, Hampshire, UK. I know Portsmouth a little bit. I've got a little sister that lives there, so not far. She's nearby. So let's have a quick look. I think my husband's going to keep putting up messages for everyone, just so that I can get cracking. So what I'm going to do is share my screen. 1 second, so that you can see how I use astro.com, because I absolutely recommend that we use astro.com. It's a really, really great little program. And let me just put it on the screen so you can see it. So I'm just putting in Cheryl's details. So if you haven't done this before, I really recommend it, because there's loads of little readings and options that you've got using astro.com. It's fantastic. So Cheryl was born on the 7th of December 1960 at 9:20 a.m. in Cosham. Not there though. So I'm actually going to put in Portsmouth, England. Let's have a look at your chart then, Cheryl. I'm just double checking. Now I can't really see, I've got loads of messages coming in. The Barefoot Broadcast is my husband, so he's whipping you all up in a frenzy, hopefully. I can see we've got April. Let me just say hello. Hi, April. And great. I'm loving the plants too. Leslie from Australia, that's great. So you can see the chart. Now let me have a look. So Cheryl, she's a Sagittarius like me, born in 1960. And what I want to do actually is I want to show you her chart with the transits. Now what this means is I'm looking at her chart with the current position of the planets around the outside. So this is her birth chart in the middle. This is where all the planets were at the time, place and date of her birth. And this is where they currently are right now. You'll see the sun and the moon are really close together because they've been in a new moon today. The moon has since just moved a little bit ahead. So we can see right off the bat that this new moon has occurred in her first house, which is very much about her persona, her identity, her body, very, very much about things that she might get triggered about because it's very personal. So this is great timing actually to receive whatever advice comes out because, there's a real need for her to be working on who she really is right now, So she's requesting how to get out of my current funk. So the first thing that really captures my eye about Cheryl's chart is, let's just have a quick scan. That's likely to be slowing it down a little bit. Okay. Yeah. The first thing I want to bring up, Cheryl, and I'm just going to talk like I'm addressing you now. First thing I really notice is you've had Mars going retrograde for a while since early December, and Mars has been going retrograde through your 7th house, which is absolutely about partners, like a partner, like a married partner or somebody you might live with, and also like your closest friends. This part of your chart is about everyone that's not you, really. So this part is everything that's you. This part is everything that's not you. And Mars has been going backwards, and he's going back to, I think, 16 or 17 degrees. And then he's going to go forwards again on the 24th of February. So the first thing I want you to know is, I know it seems a long way off, because we're on the 29th of January, but by the 24th of February, when Mars appears to go forwards again, I actually think you're going to start to feel better quite rapidly. It's interesting because in your birth chart, Mars is retrograde already, and it's in the sign of Cancer. I find, Mars in the 7th house usually shows, that we might feel like we have to be a bit defensive with the people around us, most likely because they seem a little bit defensive. So, you may well attract quite a few crabby Cancerian types, people who are super, super sensitive, and they're a little triggerable. With your Capricorn ascendant might be trying to tell it like it is. You've also got your sun in Sagittarius. I don't know if this is true or not. I don't think so, but who knows? But Sagittarians have got a reputation of kind of putting their foot in it a little bit, being a little bit, straightforward, and a little bit, too blasé about things. And Capricorns are known for being really quite forthright and practical. And so you may, and also with your moon in Leo as well, you may come across a little bit kind of, like straight to the point and quite dynamic. And so the people around you might find that they are a little bit defensive. So you might find that people, are kind of defending themselves. They find possibly some of your truths a bit harsh. And so, yeah, it's interesting. It almost feels like right now you can't quite be yourself around the people that you would normally spend time with, almost as if it, it's really hard to engage with them. And because of that, it's difficult for you to move forwards. I think at the moment, probably the easiest way out of your current funk is to just be a bit detached from people a little bit at the moment, just to find your own way and to make choices based on what works for you. Because I don't think the people around you right now really know what they want, and are possibly a little bit cagey, not answering things in a straightforward manner, which may well make you even more straightforward, and asking more pointed questions. I notice that, the cusp for Aries and also the cusp for Capricorn, we've got the third house and the 10th house. The third house is about your community, and this is ruled by Mars. And then your 10th house is also ruled by Mars in the sign of Scorpio. The 10th house is about your career. So you might find that you felt really quite pushed back from expressing yourself, in whatever it is that you do on a daily basis, for your career or how you stand in the world. It might feel like you can't quite get into your flow because you're holding back a little bit, because the people around you are a bit sensitive. Also with Mars being the natural ruler of your third house, which has got to do with your local community, your peers, your brothers and sisters and cousins, and all the people that maybe you've grown up with and the people that surround you in your local environment. Just feels like possibly you're waiting to make your choices based on everyone else's reactions, when right now I think the easiest thing would be just to honor your more Capricorn, Sagittarius ways and make your move yourself. So I would start to put feelers out to start moving forwards, and know that from the 24th things should straighten out and people will be a bit clearer. Now, something else that is going on that could very well affect how you are in your career is also that Pluto and Mars, which are both the rulers of your career, and I think the midheaven, the ruler of the career, career is understating it. It's a really important point. This midheaven really shows us how we feel in response to our direction, our legacy, what we're leaving the world with. Do we feel like we're doing a good job? Do we need to work a bit harder or a bit less? And how we want to be seen in the world. And so I can see that with these two in opposition, and they've been in opposition since just before the 3rd of November, and they're going to be in an opposition until the if I get this right, I think the 27th of April. Now, that's not to say you won't be able to push forwards in your career at all in that time, but it just feels like you're at odds. You're trying to balance things out between taking control in terms of your persona and making steps forwards with the people, maybe the stockholders, shareholders, the people that you're working with, your clients and stuff. So it just feels like it's a real balancing act between serving yourself and serving others. This will pass, but I think it's important that you give to yourself first. Now, some other things, Pluto has only just recently, in the last 2 months, changed signs into the sign of Aquarius for good. He'd been dancing around this for some time. And in fact, like around the time of COVID, he was in a conjunction with your Venus. So you've been in quite a transformational journey in terms of your own story about yourself. And, I do think there's some more things to drop into your personality. There's things that you've been wanting to change about yourself, things you've been mulling over. I do feel like you're being called to respond in a different way at the moment. So this, like, not feeling how to move forwards is actually serving you. You just can't see it yet. I think the energy is still kind of settling. I do think today's new moon in your first house, also in the same sign as Pluto, Mercury's also here as well, will be very, very useful. Last thing that I want to share with you then is there's a lot going on in terms of money and how you feel about yourself in this year ahead, and taking you into February of 2026. We've got the North Node that's just changed signs in the last couple of weeks. At the end of March, Neptune's going into Aries. Later on, Saturn's going into Aries. We'll have Mercury and Venus going backwards and forwards over this point. This is really, really a sensitive point. Again, it's showing there's something new to drop into your experience about the way you earn money, and how you value yourself. So again, that's just taking me back to the fact that there are new changes coming up for yourself, things that you've wanted to dream for yourself, like ways that you see yourself transforming in. And maybe all that's needed is for you to develop the confidence to sort of back you up, to step forwards. This time is just serving you to play around a little bit and take a little step, try it a little bit. So yeah, I think I'm really sure that you will start to feel clearer. And as the year goes on, in particular, from the 24th of Feb, and then again from the 27th of April, they will be a time when you shift a little bit and then shift a little bit more. So yeah, if I was in your shoes right now, what I would really do is talk to myself a lot, journal. If you've got a career coach or a coach that you trust to help you explore all the different patterns within your life, I think that would be really, really helpful. Not so that people are guiding you and telling you what you need to do, but just to help you open up your mind to see all the different possibilities, but also to see the fears that might be holding you back from taking just one step forward. So I hope that was helpful for you. Lots and lots of love. So that was the first one. So let's just see who else is joining us in the chat room. So where are we? So Mother Mulberry saying, I've done the free Sky Story report. I highly recommend it. Turned out I have a strong Bellatrix in my tail. Wow, that's interesting. I wonder what you made of that. I've just been sent a little love letter from my producer. That's lovely. Thank you, Carl. So back to the comments. Leslie Jolly is joining us. She's saying, Mother Mulberry, I will. I'm not sure what that's about. I think I've just gone a little bit too far ahead. So we've got Leslie Jolly, who is a SAG as well. Mother Mulberry is saying twins. Jodie Lee is saying, Mother Mulberry, I'm going to check out the Sky Story report. Sounds very interesting. I absolutely recommend the reports on astro.com. I've had them in the past. Really, really good. My producer's saying no one's allowed to go just yet. Leslie, hope you enjoy reading it as much as I enjoyed mine. Penny saying we're not going anywhere. That's great. Mother Mulberry is also saying my partner is a Cancer sun and rising to my Sag sun and rising. Do you know what, Mother Mulberry? I'm a Sagittarius and Carl, my producer husband, is a Cancer. So I know a lot about the Sagittarian and Cancer pairing. It's an interesting one. And Nubinet is just saying, I've just remembered it's Wednesday. And Nubinet, if you don't mind me revealing, Nubinet is another Sagittarius. So we've got a real sort of saggy kind of feel to today's show. Right, let's have a look. Let's have a look for another name. I hope that was helpful for Cheryl. And Cheryl, if you've watched, let us know. So the next person I'm looking for is Jessica. Jessica from El Paso. So I wonder if you're here at the moment, Jessica. Let's have a look. So I'm going to bring this back onto the screen and go back into the chart selection. Let's add a new person. So now I'm putting in Jessica. And Jessica is born on the 5th of Feb, which is coming up, 1990 at 1:38 a.m. I always am interested to see if there are any other patterns that come up, like I often find people share, like, when I'm picking different people each week, I often find this something linking them in. Let's see what's coming on with Jessica. And just so you know, Jessica is asking about finding love. So if you've been watching and having a look at these patterns, you'll see that there is a bit of a similarity with the pattern. Cheryl had a lot here and here from the 1st to the 7th. That's how it looked. It looked like there's a bit of energy going across the screen. This is a lot more pronounced in Jessica's chart. So she's got a really, really strong Capricorn, actually very much like my previous Cheryl that I was looking at, but her sun is in the sign of Aquarius. She's got her moon in the sign of Gemini, and she's got Scorpio rising. So finding love then. Okay, Jessica. The first thing I think that's worth, again, we've got another theme here, very similar to Cheryl. So Jessica's fifth house, the fifth house is all about how we are intimate with people, and also intimacy that brings us joy. You know, I think of the fifth house as being quite a playful house, a creative house, where we're discovering ourselves through the things that bring us joy. So orgasms totally come up into this, children come into this. This is a place of conceiving and birthing, but you haven't asked me about that. You're asking me about finding love. So the fifth house I always would pay attention to. And the ruler of the fifth house, which just so happens to be Mars. I would also look at the ascendant, which is in Scorpio, which is also ruled by Mars. So, you know, that's of interest. But I would also have a look at the seventh house cusp, which is in the sign of Taurus. That's ruled by Venus. So the first thing that occurs to me is that, you know, I need to pay attention to Mars in Jessica's chart and also Venus. Now, you can see they're both actually here. They're both in this tight little nexus point here. So we've got, this is interesting. We've got Mars in a conjunction with Uranus. They're just a few degrees away from each other at the beginning of Capricorn. And then we've got Venus also connected to Saturn, and also exactly in a conjunction with Mercury retrograde as well. And is that, let me just double check. No, it's not Mercury that's retrograde, it's Venus that's retrograde. So you've got interesting programming, you know. So interesting that Mars is in a conjunction with Uranus, and Venus is in a conjunction with Saturn, because both Uranus and Saturn are the rulers of Aquarius, where your sun is, and also your north node. And also, you know, your north node and sun are in an exact conjunction, which also gives you a really, really strong Aquarian sort of energy. And Aquarian energy tends to be quite unattached. And, you know, it just in the last couple of days, I've been working with people who have asked about love, who have had either Uranus in a conjunction with their sun and their ascendant, or connected with Venus. You know, wherever Uranus is connecting to things, it shows where we're quite independent and not necessarily wanting to connect. And if we do want to connect, we want to connect in a really unusual way. So, you know, the first thing that I can see here, Jessica, is that there is a lightness that you want in terms of your sun, your north node, which is, you know, about how you do life. You want to be on your own terms, feeling free, feeling expanded. There's a desire to have something that's meaningful, like really meaningful and really kind of true to who you are. And you're probably quite serious about it as well, because you do also have your ascendant in the sign of Scorpio. I've got Scorpio rising too. I mean, people with Scorpio rising tend to be really, really serious about their relationships. And they also tend to be quite sexual. They do want to have quite a strong sort of sexual connection. So this is interesting. You know, how can you have a relationship with somebody that you will be intensely loyal to, have a really strong sexual connection, and also enjoy freedom? You know, you don't tend to get those in the same category. So I think, you know, the first thing to observe is you're not really looking for a usual kind of relationship. You want something that is absolutely really unique. And the kind of person that you're likely to attract is somebody who is absolutely living their life on their terms too. So not necessarily somebody who, you know, comes from a usual background, who wants to settle down and have kids straight away. You may well find that you need to live your life on your terms, to be able to meet that person who is living their life on their terms too. So they're not necessarily hiding in the usual places. Mars and Uranus also can show a lot of originality and quite an adventurous appetite, like sexually. It can show a really sort of gung-ho kind of desire to experience as much sort of sexual energy as possible. It's kind of unusual, and so your appetite here may well stop a relationship from forming. If you're going for the sexual side first, before coming into the relationship, you might find that you're communicating sort of different messages, and then Venus in a conjunction with Saturn can really, really show a seriousness about wanting to get it right first time as well. So it's interesting. It really does feel like there's so many different energies at play here, which may well account for why it's not necessarily easy to find love. But here's where I want to offer you some hope and explore something else, because as before, when I was talking to Cheryl, I mentioned that, Mars and Pluto have generally, since, right at the end of October, and really coming up to the end of April of this year, they're in opposition. They're not normally in opposition for the best part of 6 months. They're usually just in opposition for a couple of weeks, and then they kind of tend to go their different ways. But right now they are in this kind of like long, lazy, slightly confusing opposition for anyone with a strong Scorpio energy, which of course you have. Now, your Mars is here in the 8th house, and Pluto is right. It looks like he's just gone into the 3rd house, but he has been teetering around the edge of the 2nd. Where Pluto's been over the last, over the last decade, he's been challenging how you think about yourself. He's been challenging you to drop the conformity, and to get ever more truthful to yourself. And it's probably caused you quite a lot of chaos in terms of how you've worked, how you've been able to settle. It's probably caused you a lot of change and a lot of pain. It feels like there's one step forwards, like you know yourself a bit better, and then it feels like you're taking a step back or two. So what I want you to have a sense of right now is a lot of that inquiry is going. Pluto has stepped out of this place where your self-esteem has been attacked. To me, it feels like you've had so many challenges on your self-esteem that you're now actually a lot more secure than you've been in a long time. But it just feels like at the moment, Mars is just saying, we need to just wait a little bit longer. Now, Mars is coming back over this point in your chart known as the vertex. Now, it's not actually anything planetary. It's an astronomical calculation. But the vertex is a very, very sensitive point. And when things go over it, it usually shows things are about to turn around and things are about to come into action. And Mars is the ruling planet of your chart, and also your sense of romance and initiation, sexual romantic initiation, and the start of a new relationship. So that is interesting. You are coming up to this point where Mars is going to go over it in the 3rd week in February, and then he'll go back over it again when he goes direct. So to me, it feels like as you come into the 3rd week in February, all of a sudden things are starting to heat up, and things are starting to make a bit of sense. And then you're going to start moving forwards. Now, where Mars is, he's in this place. It's not about the self-esteem, but it's about letting go of attachments, especially blame, shame, guilt, embarrassment, trauma, anger. It's often about how other people feel about you. So what I really see here is you've done a lot of work on yourself. And actually what's going on right now is you're kind of dropping like the care about how other people might judge you. But this is actually bringing you into a feeling of greater freedom. So whatever you're feeling right now, however you feel like you've been held back, all that's happening is you're coming back into yourself so that you can move forwards. Now, there's another thing that I want to share with you. Obviously, Venus is the ruler of partnerships. You've got the moon there. You've got Ceres next to the moon. Often when Ceres and the moon are together, it shows a desire to have children one day. Scorpio rising often shows where you want to have children. And also, with the moon and Ceres in the sign of Gemini, that can also and also Scorpio rising can show a desire for multiple children, not just one, but like a kind of big family around you. It's kind of unusual, it can multiply things quite a lot. Now, given that Venus is the ruler and your Venus is retrograde, we are coming up to a time when Venus is retrograde this year. She only goes retrograde every couple of years. And she's actually going to be going retrograde. She's actually coming up to this point here, which is the door. Like, she's knocking on the door of your 5th house, and she's going to be knocking on that door around the 2nd of March. And then she's going to go retrograde. During that time, Mercury, that she's in a conjunction with, by the way, is also coming up to that point and is knocking on the door, like saying, hello, are we ready for a relationship? And then he's retrograding again past it. So, and then they're both going to go direct. What I want you to know is from the 2nd, so here's a few dates. So 24th of February, you're going to start to come back into your energy and feel a little bit more like yourself, feel like things can move forwards again. Then from the 2nd of March, it feels like there might be somebody from the past. It's a retrograde, and Venus retrograde really does pick up on old relationships, old flames, old patterns. It's a bit of a review process going on. It feels like maybe someone from the past or somebody that you've known for a long time, somebody you've got history with. There are some considerations. They're coming up around the 2nd. Then Mercury comes in. They're both retrograde. But then by the 13th of April, both of them will have crossed past this. On the 13th of April, by the 13th of April, they're both moving forwards again, and really showing that you're coming into a time of considering relationships. So I guess what I want you to know is it is all going to change. I don't normally say that with so much conviction, but I really do think that the ruling planets, the retrogrades, and I think things are going to move forwards for you quite soon. So, I would say from mid-April, things are going to get a lot more exciting. There's something else I also want to share with you, and that is you're coming up to a Jupiter return. And Jupiter is in your 7th house. That's often a time when people meet somebody, especially when Jupiter goes direct again. So it's another retrograde. When he goes direct, he will move over your moon and your Ceres, and that can often connect people, especially again, if you're not looking to get pregnant, then it's really important that around this time that you take precautions, because this would really ramp up your fertility. And then, by the 9th of June, Jupiter's going to be in a conjunction with your Jupiter. So things are absolutely moving forwards quite fast. So in terms of finding love, I think to sum it up, look for somebody who is absolutely just like you, who is living on their own terms, is unafraid to live on their own terms, who maybe has quite a complicated story, somebody who understands their own trauma, somebody who's really quite grown up, actually. Doesn't mean to say they're old, although Venus, Mars, you've got so much in this part of your chart. There's so much kind of seriousness, but Venus usually gives you a description of who you might meet. So somebody older than you could be very possible, but also somebody who is light at heart, with the moon in Gemini. So yeah, look out for somebody like that, and just notice that things are going to come together. So I hope that's helpful for you. There's a lot of dates there as to when things are going to clear, but wishing you lots and lots of love and luck on your journey, Jessica. Lots of love. Okay, so let's come out of this and just check where everyone is. Oh, so we've got lots of people saying hello to each other, which is really, really nice. Mother Mulberry saying, "My people, Sagittarius overload." I love that. Malika is saying, "Hi, could I get a reading regarding best times to initiate a divorce, please? I see that your name is in my hat. Yours might be pulled out, but I'm pulling out." Ooh, one's just dropped to the floor. Actually, hang on. I'll just put that in. So I will be pulling out one more name, possibly two. So good luck. I can't guarantee it. I asked last week, but I just logged on, unfortunately. Hope it's not too late. No, I mean, if everybody applies, they fill in the form, I pick names out of a hat, and it's all completely random. It does sound like it's important to read for you, but I have to do it sort of completely fairly. And thanks for coming back. Oh, yeah, that's brilliant. Mother Mulberry's helping. Entries are tallied before the show. A literal draw from the hat. Yes, absolutely. Claire Mary saying 6 planets in the second house. Yeah, that's something else, actually. If you're still listening, Jessica, I often find when you've got so many planets in the second house that you often fall in love with people that you work with, especially seeing as your romance and partnering planets are in the second as well. We've also got, Malika has filled out the form. That's great. Everyone's wishing Malika best. That's great. Mother Mulberry saying, if my name gets drawn, get some beers or wine in. That's great. Tone is saying, I've seen your name in my hat as well, Tone. So interesting. That's great. Nubinet is saying, all this relationship talk reminds me to throw my name into the hat again. Yeah, you should. Absolutely. I'd love to have a look at it. Rare is saying, how do we know if names have already been pulled? Okay, well, I can tell you so far, and maybe somebody has already said it, Jessica and Cheryl's name have been pulled. So stick around. What else? I've entered for the first time, made a bet with the universe. If I'm not drawn, I'm winning the lottery. Well, that sounds great. Gaining wisdom. Hello, old friend. How are you? You've followed me around to a couple of channels. I love that. Thank you so much. It's lovely that you're here. Thank you. Okay, that's the end of. Okay, go to start. Oh, sorry, I'm reading my messages from the producer as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is pick out one more name. Okay, let's see whose name this is. We've got another finding love. It's not you, Malika. So I'm afraid, sorry, but feel free to apply next week as well. This is the luck of the draw. So it's Karolina who is finding love. Karolina from Poland. So Mother Mulberry, looks like you're going to win that lottery after all. Well done. Okay, so let's add a new person. Karolina, who is born on the 8th. Ooh, something exciting about your date of birth, or around the time of your date of birth, just so you know. 1982. So the 8th of July, 1992. 19:30 p.m. And this is where I get a little bit worried, because I need to type in a place that I don't know. Okay, let's see if that. Okay, I found it. That's great. So born in Poland. Wow, there's so we got some more similarities coming up, because we've got another Scorpio angle. So both Cheryl and Jessica and now Karolina have all got Scorpio either on their midheaven or their ascendant. So this is here. We've also got a moon in Aquarius. We've had a bit of Aquarius energy today. And right now, as I'm doing this reading, this is no accident. The new moon, in particular, the moon has just passed Karolina's own moon, so that's pretty special. So let's have a look at this then. So finding love. So again, like I did before, I would look at the ascendant, which sign is it in? It's in Sagittarius. So I'm going to look at the ruler of Sagittarius, which is Jupiter, and also the 5th house ruler, which is Venus, and also the 7th house ruler, which just so happens to be Mercury. So this is fascinating, because right now Jupiter is coming into an alignment with Karolina's Venus, and then around about the 9th of June, it will be right on Karolina's Mercury and also on Karolina's descendant, which is really cool. That's like her ruling planet. So it's about her, how she does her life. It's connecting to how someone else does their life. And the feeling of camaraderie. So the first thing I want to say, Karolina, is things look actually quite interesting. Jupiter is about to connect to the ruler of your 5th house. That's lighthearted. Venus and Jupiter anyway are both known as benefic planets. They're both really helpful. Venus is about love, but she's also about flow, well-being, feeling great in herself. It's a lovely energy. And Jupiter is about expansion, goodwill, flow. He's also lucky. So, you're coming into a time of a natural sort of attractiveness. You're coming into a flow of a sort of natural magnetism where things can happen. Now, given that your Venus is in the 6th house, and also that your Mercury is in the 6th house, I would say work would be a great place to meet, your future partner. And Jupiter coming into this, to me, well, it implies a lot of different things. First of all, that your life might be about to have a bit of a shake-up. Jupiter, your ruling planet, is coming into the 6th house. That usually coincides with things getting really, really busy in life. That there's lots of different things to balance. Your life might come out of shape a little bit first, because it feels like all of a sudden there's a lot of new opportunities. Now, the first thing that I'm thinking is, well, what are you changing about your life? Are you changing home? Are you changing jobs, for instance? But to me, it feels like there's a bit of a shift going on that is making your life a lot more excitable. Now that I've looked a little bit more, just out of the corner of my eye, I see that Venus doesn't just rule the 5th house, which has to do with intimacy and the start of a relationship and the sensuality, sexuality, but Venus also rules your IC. This is the angle to do with your home and where you live. So it's kind of interesting, to me, this could be the time when you are shifting how you're living because of love. There are some shifts coming up for sure. So that's great. But the other thing that occurs to me is, given that Venus and Mercury are both ruling how you get into a relationship and how you maintain a relationship, it's interesting that both of them in March are going to be going retrograde from this point here in the 3rd house back into Pisces in your 2nd house, and both moving forwards. Now, the two retrogrades, often retrogrades kind of disconnect us a little bit and discombobulate us. But what I think, going on right now is like Venus and Mercury coming together and retrograding over the same space in your chart together around the same time, literally between the 2nd of March and up until the 14th of April, which is when it's all stopped. To me, this is showing, I think, a decision point. And it's likely to be quite interesting. So, Venus is going to be here in your 3rd house, which is about people in your local vicinity. That can also include the workplace, by the way, because it's like, where do you go every day? Like, the 3rd house is the community you find yourself in. And so, yes, that can include your neighbors nearby where you live, and your brothers and sisters and cousins, and people from your childhood. But it can also show the people that you see at work every day, because they are part of your work or life community. So Venus and Mercury going retrograde from this point in your community back here into your second house, which has to do with earnings, but it also has to do with how you feel about yourself. Do you feel confident? I think you might be going through a little bit of a change, or actually quite a big change, and it's making you think very differently. So yeah, here's a couple of thoughts that I've got just looking at this, just very briefly, and that is that maybe again someone from your past and somebody who is right in front of you that you've thought of as a friend, as a companion, somebody who just seems kind, somebody that you can chat with really easily. To me, it feels like someone that's kind of right in front of you within your community. All of a sudden, things are changing between you and them. And it's causing you to have new thoughts about yourself before you are then transported back into the community. So to me, it feels like there is something coming up in a very real and very sort of credible way. Now, I want to add in a little bit more because, Jupiter is, once he goes forwards again, he's going to go into the sign of Cancer on the 9th of June. Now, on the 9th of June, he'd have just crossed over the descendant. Now, Jupiter going over any of the angles seems quite significant. I mean, it happens quite quickly, but it's usually lifting us up in some way. And then Jupiter's going to be in your very massive 7th house for well over a year, for about a year and a half. So Jupiter coming into this part of your chart that has to do with relationships, I think is really significant. Similarly, like Jessica that I just spoke to previously, you've got your Sun and North Node in a conjunction together. And so Jupiter is going to come over the Sun and your North Node. Again, that's another indication of a chance to deepen a relationship or to start a relationship. So there's lots of indications here that you may well be connecting with somebody from work, from your local community, maybe somebody right in front of your very eyes. And then over, from June onwards, you're coming into this phase of deepening your relationship with people that bring you joy. Now, of course, I'm not saying, this is definitely going to happen because, I'm just talking about the energies as they're shifting in. But to me, I think the more you can experience joy, the more you are following your natural patterns, the more you are engaging in really nice friendships with people and just being joyful and light, the more likely this is to come into its reality. Jupiter is your ruling planet, and Jupiter is absolutely buoyant and wanting to share. Now, the fact that you're asking this on the day of the new moon in Aquarius, I think that's on your moon, I think is also an indication that you are about to move forwards with a very sort of personal, like something that you've wanted in your life for a long time is coming to pass. Now, there's another thing that I want to share with you, and that's really what's going to tie us into the same patterns as before, as the last two ladies experienced. So Mars is currently going retrograde, and he is going to move forwards, like I said, on 16 or 17 degrees in the sign of Cancer. The last two ladies had something at this point. I think one was Mars and the other had the vertex. You've actually got your Sun here. And so it probably hasn't felt like you've had much energy for relationships, or maybe they haven't gone in the way that you're expecting recently. And also that the people around you have been a little bit highly sensitive. But again, I see that that's going to change and turn around, and you're actually going to come into a lot more energy when Mars goes direct on the 24th of February. Things will start to get much easier. Now, given that you're, the ruler of Mars is the ruler of your midheaven, to do with your career, and is also the ruler of your third house. Again, work is coming up as a really big theme. So I think things will start to sort themselves out in terms of your work from the 24th. And then everything will start to happen. One last thing I've just noticed, because obviously in these little looks into your life. I'm just zeroing in on the first things that occur to me, but the more I look, the more I see. Jupiter is also a really important planet in terms of your career. Jupiter's placement here is so close to your midheaven. So again, it's another indication, given that Jupiter is making these connections to these parts of your charts to do with love. I think love and work are combining. I remember last week somebody asked about love and work, and is it wise? And I think most people now meet people through work, and like people who are working in a similar place have got the similar vibration to attract similar jobs. So yeah, that's what I think. I hope that's helpful for you, Karolina. Lots and lots of love to you as you go through this stage. Right, I've got a little bit of time, so I am going to pick another name out just for a quick micro check-in. Oh, Karolina is saying, I'm Cancer Sun with a stellium in Libra and Aquarius Moon, Sagittarius rising. It seems to me that it's not going to be any easy with this heavy Pluto, Saturn, Neptune and those transits. Well, I hope you feel a bit better after you've heard that reading, Karolina. The joy of Pluto leaving Capricorn was too soon. I've experienced a lot of pleasure since I had Jupiter. Pluto moving all over my Sagittarius planets. Boy, was that a hard time. Okay. Right, let's pick out one more for a micro reading. Let's see who comes out. Penny, I'm going to have a little check-in with your chart. So let's bring this back on track. Now, Penny was just asking for anything that stands out this year. So that's going to be a really easy one for me to do. And Penny, it's not going to be very in depth because I've only got a few minutes to do it, but I will give it my best shot for you. 19th of May, 1957. And you were born at 4:20 in the afternoon in Hemel Hempstead. Let's have a look. Okay. Oh my goodness. Another Aquarius moon. Okay. So this is absolutely an indication to me that, we are absolutely in this kind of co-creative universe, that, we're getting people coming together with, like similar stories going on. Now, Penny's the first one that doesn't have a massive Scorpio energy, like, a Scorpio. I just remembered I've got to make this quick, haven't I? Okay, so Penny, here's what's coming up for you then. What I see as being really important. Yeah, the first thing, like the thing to watch out for with you, Penny, is Pluto is coming into a conjunction with your moon. It's not going to be there just yet, but he is already in a conjunction with it. But he won't make a tight conjunction, I think, until around the end of 2026. That's off the top of my head. That's not verified, but looking at his general speed, no doubt already you've already been going into a lot of deep emotions in terms of where you live and your home and what constitutes your home. The new moon today, whatever themes are coming up at the moment on today's new moon, I think are the big stories that you'll be investigating with Pluto over the next couple of years, because this new moon is also in a conjunction with your moon. So it's pretty big. There's stuff going on at home. But yes, this is also relevant and, leads into the previous readings. So where Mercury and Venus are going retrograde, they're coming both up to almost your descendant, and then they're going retrograde, and then they're moving forwards again. So they are both making this switch in the 6th house of your life, which has to do with work, but it also has to do with the balance that you've got in your life. So I think there's a lot going on in terms of, I don't know what kind of work you're doing at the moment, or, how the balance is working out for you. But to me, it feels like there's a lot to maneuver. There's a lot of new things to consider. Now, one of the things I always think, there's a natural kind of resonance between the 4th and the 6th, because they are both talking about how you manage your life. Like, this is about your home for sure, but how you manage your life in terms of going to work, getting home, doing your washing, cooking, maybe exercising, entertaining and stuff, and also managing your finances. They kind of work together. So I'm seeing that you are really thinking hard about how you're doing life. And I think that is really going on for you, very much so, between March and April. So there are things to look at, so it might just be that you might just need to make a little bit of a tweak, but it's a different tweak to the normal kind of tweak that you might make. It's almost like there's a bold decision to make. And it can be exciting as well. Now, I think you'll be kind of pleased as Saturn and Neptune finally kind of get out of the sign of Pisces and move into Aries. I think things will make a lot more sense after around the 25th of May, when, you'll be able to make stronger decisions. It feels like a lot of the information that you might need is a little bit up in the air. Now, there's other things to also consider. So, for instance, in July this year, Uranus is moving out of the sign of Taurus, where he's been very, very close to your sun for a really long time. I mean, this is the big news. It does feel like there's this huge identity shift. So again, where you're shifting in your identity is also feeding into your home life and how you do your work. But to me, it just feels like there's a lot going on to do with old identities passing away and new beginnings coming in, but you're not quite ready. It doesn't feel like you're ready to quite accept these new realities for yourself or these new beginnings. And I think from July, when Uranus goes into the sign of Gemini, it will become a lot clearer. Now, at the same time, Uranus is going to go back and forth a little bit, but by I think February, March of next year, you'll be really owning your new identity. It really feels like you know who you are. Now, Jupiter's just gone over Venus, funnily enough, which is what's happening for Karolina. So, I think feeling freer and feeling more released recently is what's leading to this sense of a new identity. Now, later on, Jupiter is going to change signs. This is on the June the 9th. He's going to go into Cancer and will be priming to go over this top part of your career. I wonder what was happening for you around 11 and a half years ago. Actually, maybe let's just say 12 and a quarter, because it's still got a little bit to go. But around 12 and a bit years ago, where were you succeeding in life? Because that's also part of what's coming in. So yeah, if you're getting any kind of inclinations at the moment, Penny, that some change is coming, it could very well have to do with how you're working. Maybe there's an idea that you've got that you think you can land in about a year's time. And there might be some things that you need to shift to make it happen. I really do see that that's part of the plan at the moment. So I hope that's helpful. It's literally just a quick whistle stop look at your chart. But yeah, I hope that's helpful for you. A lot of deep thoughts, but hopefully that's going to help. So let's just check in with the rest of the comments. So what else? Yeah, Penny's saying, oh, my moon is in Aquarius too. Yes, it is. Once my lottery winnings come in, a round of readings for the chat. Oh, Mother Mulberry, that's so kind of you. What a lovely person you are. Hurrah, Penny says. Boo-hoo. Mother Mulberry says, woohoo. Penny says, this is very fun. And Penny saying, defo, new idea on the cards and starting next month to put in place. I'm going to second that with a woohoo. Penny's also saying, thanks so much, Louisa. Ronnie Turner is saying, hello. Hello, my love. And Malika is saying, we'll try again next week, trusting the universe to get the message at the right time. Malika, has any of the messages that you've heard so far been helpful, in terms of, I don't know, in terms of the dates, like there's a lot of shifts going on. I really think that I don't know what your chart looks like, but if you've got a strong Scorpio, for instance, or a strong Aquarius, for instance, then if you listen back to some of those readings, that might give you an idea as to what's releasing and what's coming in. Oh, bless. Mother Mulberry saying, Malika, sending that vibe for you. Oh, that's so lovely. Well, I think I'm coming to the end of this. So I want to just put it out there that it's the day of the new moon. And the new moon is always a time, I think, when we're sowing seeds. And the kinds of seeds that you might want to be sowing right now, maybe right after this show, maybe grab a pen and a piece of paper, but maybe just sit down and think about what would really light up your world, what would create freedom and greater independence for you. They are the key words of this moment. So thank you so much. I've got to go, and hopefully I will catch you again real soon. Please remember, don't forget to send your application. Once you have sent your name, I can consider you for the next round. So lots and lots of love to you, and catch you next week. Bye. And if you've got a burning question that you'd like me to explore in a future show, then please do get in touch.